How's it going, everyone? How are you doing today? I am reviewing the Chelsea versus Newcastle game. We went to St. James's Park and managed to hold a clean sheet against a Newcastle who I'm honestly very disappointed in. They could have done much better this game, but nope. They did not, especially after the game against Southampton. There's a reason I kept bringing up the Southampton game, and I'll talk more about that later. But to get right into it, for the lineups, for Newcastle, they played a 5-4-1/5-2-3. They kind of transitioned between both, but most of the time it played more as a 5-4-1 because of the way they kept dropping back. In goal, Derlo, who was actually very good for Newcastle, and yeah, he was very good for Newcastle. On the left, Lewis, the center back trio, Clark, Lascelles, and Fernandez. On the right, Manquillo. Left mid, St. Maximin. The two center mids, Longstaff and Sean Longstaff. On the right, Murphy, and up top, Joelinton. For the subs, Almiron, Carroll, Shelby, Gillespie, Hendrick, Kraft, and Shaw. Now, Newcastle's lineup already kind of breathes, not necessarily park the bus, but it breathes a sort of drop back mentality. And at the end of the day, it really came back to bite them. Like they dropped back too much, and they added really nothing to the game from their side. And at no point did I really, more so in the second half, at no point did I really feel too threatened by Newcastle. They just couldn't get anything going, and then refused to break out of that mentality, that drop back mentality, and go at Chelsea. And at the end of the day, that's what cost them this game. Now, Chelsea's lineup at 4-3-3, Edouard Mendy in goal, Ben Chilwell on the left, Tony Rudiger and Kurt Zuma, the center back duo, Reece James on the right, the midfield trio, Mason Mount, N'Golo Kante, and Mateo Kovacic. On the left wing, Timo Werner, up top, Tammy Abraham, and on the right wing, Hakim Ziyech. Now, like I mentioned, I'm not too keen on Timo Werner playing on the left. I know he can play on the left. He played incredibly well today, but I'd much rather see him go down the middle, honestly. And like I just said, he plays well wherever he goes. He plays really well wherever he goes, but that's just the talented player he is. But I would much rather see him go down the middle for reasons I gave in my prediction video. I just feel like it'd be a way more advantageous situation for him if he just went down the middle every time. Now, but regardless, that's what Lampard picked. That's what he's going to stick with. For the subs, we have Olivier Giroud, Cesar Azpilicueta, Emerson, Jorginho, Kepa, Christensen, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, to get right into the first half, immediately Newcastle, first couple minutes, we're giving a sense of, maybe they'll challenge us. Maybe they'll really respond after that Southampton game and stay in the game and pressure Chelsea at certain points, prevent Chelsea from establishing a very consistent press, and kind of throw bodies forward to try and neutralize Chelsea's press, because when you throw more bodies forward, right, Chelsea have to commit more back, because obviously we don't want to get outnumbered 7-4 on a counterattack, so obviously we're going to pull bodies back in order to compensate for Newcastle throwing bodies forward. So that's a good way to neutralize a team's press, a team who relies on the press. That's a good way to try and neutralize it, is try to force them to pull numbers back, because at the end of the day, their counterattack and their press isn't going to be as effective when there's only 3 players or so that are able to they're just available at all times to be able to get the short pass going, get the high press going. You need your whole team to be able to do that, and if you disrupt that flow, you're able to find some kind of a foothold in the game. And that's honestly what I thought that was the route Newcastle were going to take, but no. After the first couple minutes is when Chelsea just dominated the game. And that's why I say Newcastle was incredibly disappointing in this game, because after the first couple minutes, Chelsea kept the ball for the rest of the game, and that was it. That was really the whole game. But some key points, obviously that wasn't completely it. Some key points in the game: in the 5th minute, Timo Werner had a shot saved by Derlo, and I believe it was 2 minutes later, he saved Derlo, the Newcastle keeper, saved a saved a header from Tammy Abraham. Now, without Derlo, Newcastle would have been down 2-0 already within the first 10 minutes. Like that. Would have just been down. And they owe a lot to that to their keep, because he's the only reason why that score was not 5-6-7 nothing. And you could say the same for Southampton too. And I saw this article that basically talked about Durlow, and it's not, he has the highest amount of saves in the Premier League, but that's not necessarily a good thing. It just means he's exposed so much and he's forced to make those saves so much because Newcastle's defense just cracks and cracks and cracks and puts him in positions where he has to save the ball. Now, going back to their lineup for a split second, talking about their defense, I should have honestly mentioned in the prediction video, I did believe that they were going to try to switch it up. I thought they were going to switch it up or keep it the same. And I would either keep it the same as, you know, they have the last couple games, or switch it up pretty dramatically. And they did switch it up fairly dramatically, you know, with the likes of Joe Ellington making to lineup. St. Maximin's not playing up top. He's playing more left. I believe it was Fernandez. No. Yeah, I think it was Fernandez in for Shar, or Clark in for Shar, one of the two. And so he did switch it up. And then, yeah, Manquillo also in on defense. So the manager clearly tried something different, but it just didn't work. They weren't really able to establish anything. And I noticed when we started establishing our press in the first half, we were a bit lax with our shape. Ultimately, Newcastle didn't punish us for that, but I do think that's something we need to keep an eye on. You know, a good counterattacking team like Liverpool will come after us if we leave ourselves exposed like that. If we pull ourselves out of position, you know, trying to maintain the high press. It was kind of on show against Sheffield, more so, where we just were out of position. But the thing is, Sheffield didn't punish us. So we didn't feel the need to, you know, maintain our shape. But that's something we need to keep an eye on. Something we need to, you know, tweak and fix to make sure, you know, when we go against a good counterattacking team, while we're establishing the press, we're not getting exposed because we're all out of position. Now, we kept possession early. Newcastle simply just kept their shape. They kept their shape. They really refused to budge. You know, it was the same sort of case that we have faced multiple times throughout the season, where we were just very slow in the attack, and so the opposite team was able to just adjust their shape as we moved along, and they were able to keep their shape. Now, from 9th to 14th minute, they pulled up a statistic which I thought was crazy. 92% to 8% possession, and this is when Chelsea really started establishing their press, from the 9th to 14th minute or so. 92% to 8% possession, and about I couldn't get the number down in time. It was about 100-ish passes to 9 up to that point. So if that doesn't tell you that Chelsea was just in complete total control, I don't know what will, because by the time the 20th minute rolled around, we were good in our press and we were doing well. However, Newcastle did have a couple opportunities through Joe Ellington and through St. Maximin where they just felt threatening going forward, and it felt like maybe they could try and steal an equalizer and go. Or actually, by that point, I think we had a couple chances before we even scored. No, they didn't. In the 10th minute, it was I forgot to mention. I forgot it was in the 10th minute. I thought it was the 20th. In the 10th minute, a cross was sent into the box, and Chilwell is behind a defender, Fernandez, center back, and Fernandez sort of bundles. He sort of trips over his legs. He has like tangled legs, and bundles the ball into the box. Own goal. Now, there was an appeal for a push on Chilwell. However, it's kind of a scenario where, like I mentioned, Fernandez got tangled feet, and he just kind of got tangled and tripped. But at the same time, I can see why they would call for the push, because Chilwell kind of there was no extension. He was just kind of a case where he had his hands on him, but there was really, like, you could tell by the replay, there was no like force put into it. First of all, no extension, but you could tell there was just no force put into it, and it just really wasn't enough at all for it to be considered a push. They did review it, but it really, there was nothing there. And so we go up 1-0 with that early own goal, and then, like I mentioned, from then on, we just established a really good press. Anytime we came at pace to Newcastle, you know, we really attacked them with pace. They struggled to keep up, and we were able to find some opportunities In the 30th minute, Werner had a golden opportunity to smash the ball home into the goal, and he did not. He did not. He would make up for it later, but he just he tried to place it. He tried being a little too cute, but he instead of just smashing it home, and it just kind of, we could have easily gone up 2-0 there. Newcastle just lacked an incredible amount of edge in this game, though. It was just really disappointing to watch from Newcastle, to have an opponent that just didn't try. You know, we were just utterly dominant in that first half, and we could, like I mentioned, we could have had 2 to 3 more if it wasn't for Dirla. Honestly, we could have had 2 to 3 more, and I just think the second half got even worse for Newcastle. They really refused to press us at all. They just dropped back, and they just kept their shape, and they dropped back, and they kept their shape. They just refused to be aggressive. They just weren't aggressive. They were so passive in this game, and it was really on display in the second half, because honestly, for me, I felt they were more threatening in the first half. Like, there was a chance maybe that they can get forward and steal a goal, but in the second half, I didn't feel that at all. Immediately, though, Jamel Lascelles, a center back for Newcastle, had to come off after dealing with an apparent injury towards the end of the first half, and he came off for Shar. Hopefully, you know, he's good, he gets better, and it's not too serious. Newcastle, though, as I mentioned, offered nothing in the second half. Like I said, they were more threatening when they would go forward. From the 55th to the... it happened in the 55th to the 60th minute. It was a chance for Timo Werner. I think it was the 55th. Timo Werner stole the ball from Shar, and instead of being selfish, he opted to try to pass the ball to Hakim Ziyech to his right, and it just gave the defense... I don't remember who it was that cleared it. I think it might have been Clark. I think it gave him enough time to recover and clear the ball. But that was a moment where Timo Werner honestly should have been a little more selfish and should have maybe tried the shot for himself. But he tried to pass it off to Ziyech. However, he recovered. He recovered in the 65th minute. Timo Werner starts almost in our defensive third. I'm talking like our half, about halfway on our half. He starts his run, and he just takes it. His pace, his dribble. It was just incredible to watch him just zoom down the field, slice through slice through everyone on their team like butter, like nothing, like hot butter, nothing. It was just nothing. Nothing could stop him from getting all the way up, and he just takes it, gets to the left side of the 18, kind of like the D mark. He's about to the left there, and he lays it off for Tammy Abraham, who slots it home in the bottom right hand corner of the goal, and we go 2-0 just for that extra insurance, just to prevent any, you know, late shenanigans or anything like that. And again, Newcastle in back-to-back games failed to make any kind of impact on the game. There's a reason that I kept bringing up Newcastle versus Southampton in my prediction videos, because I was fully expecting some kind of response out of Newcastle where they just pressed us like crazy, or they just went, you know, threw bodies forward, and they just didn't. They weren't aggressive. They refused to commit on the attack. And there was even a free kick. I remember there was a free kick in the first half where there were like 3 guys forward, and the commentators were like, "What are you doing? Like, throw bodies forward." Even the commentators were getting on Newcastle, and I was like, seriously? And then eventually, after sitting there for like 10 seconds, they finally commit bodies forward on the free kick. And I mean, it didn't result in anything, but the point is that Newcastle just refused to commit in this game. They refused to commit, and it was very disappointing to have an opponent like this who just offered nothing in the game. You know, they just offered nothing, and if Chelsea took their chances, like I said, this score would have been 6-0, 7-0. Newcastle got lucky that Chelsea just fluffed their chances. Derlo had some really good saves. You know, and I don't like having opponents who are who don't challenge us, because I want Chelsea to grow, and in order for us to grow, we need to know what our weaknesses are. We need to know what we need to work on, you know. So I just get really disappointed, and it kind of feels like a waste of a game. It kind of feels like a scrimmage almost, where it just doesn't quite offer enough for us to take away from this game. There are, I mean, like I mentioned, there are certain things that we do need to work on, but nothing inherently bad. Nothing that's, you know, a crack in our defense, a crack in our midfield, a crack in our offense. Nothing that's, you know, gonna hurt us in the long run that much. So I mean, Newcastle had one chance in the second half, to be fair, they almost got a very fortunate, not a fortunate goal, but almost, came up with a shocking goal through Sean Longstaff, who had a 30-yard shot, but it was just not enough. He missed or hit the crossbar or something like that, hit the post, and it just was not enough for Newcastle in the second half. And this was honestly our third straight comfortable victory in the Premier League. At the very least, though, it's allowing us to figure out our press and establish that press and figure out how to do it effectively without compromising our defense and our positioning. Like I said, we still need to tweak that a bit. Our positioning can be a little strange when we're doing the high press. We can commit just a little too much, too many numbers, and I mean, I get when you feel really comfortable in the game and the other team's not offering anything, so naturally you're gonna, kind of have that ego, so you're gonna start pressing higher and you're gonna start pressing higher and you're gonna start throwing those numbers forward. But at the same time, like I said, if we go against a team like Liverpool, we're gonna get punished for being out of position. So we need to keep that in check. We need to make sure we're good. We need to make sure that we keep our positioning while maintaining a high press. Just kind of shifting the shape as we move along, but keeping it as we keep the press going. Now, I have a couple interesting facts here. We went top of the table for a split second after beating Newcastle up until Spurs beat Manchester City. We were top of the table, and that brought up an interesting fact that if Lampard were to win the Premier League with Chelsea, he would be the first English manager in the Premier League to do so, which I thought was incredibly surprising considering, in Spain you've had Spanish managers win, Germany you've had German managers win, Italy you've had Italian managers win, but then in England, no English managers have ever won the Premier League. I thought that was an insane statistic. And my other one is we have 26 wins against Newcastle overall. The only opponent that we have more against in the Premier League is Tottenham Hotspur, who we've beaten 30 times. I thought that was really interesting. But with this game, I think we've established ourselves as a serious contender, because one of our main issues over the last couple seasons was our inability to take out the little guys, right? These teams that we should, on paper, be beating. We should be beating these teams on paper, and now this season we are beating them. We are beating these teams. It's just a matter of if we can handle, the bigger sides. Obviously, the Liverpool game sucked because we had a red card at halftime and it forced us to change everything in that game. But as long as we can manage to beat the bigger sides, that are alongside us, our rivals, we drew with United. If we beat Spurs, if we beat the likes of Spurs and Liverpool, that would be huge. Liverpool in the rematch, and we need to beat Spurs. I believe they are our next game. So if we beat them, I want to say we go top of the table, barring a Leicester win. They just lost. So I think if we beat Spurs next weekend, we go top of the table for realsies. And I think for longer than, half an hour. So I think we genuinely now establish ourselves as contenders, and it's another comfortable win where we're really finding our identity and we're fighting our foothold in this race for the Premier League. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Go check out the socials in the description. My Twitter is @BlueHermit1. My Instagram is @BlueHermit_. Please share your social story, friends, family, everybody know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at, and I'll see you guys later.